Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. on LA56.
From the gridiron to years behind iron bars, former NFL player Darren Sharper accepts a plea deal for drugging and raping women in several states, including California.
A shocking attack by a transient against a Venice cafe owner is now bringing business owners together tonight.
I am announcing that I'm running for President of the United States.
A rising Tea Party star, Texas Senator Cruz, launches his candidacy for the 2016 presidential election. Good evening, I'm Rudy Shabazi in for Colleen Sullivan.
I'm David Ono. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. And former NFL star Darren Sharper pleads no contest to charges of drugging and raping women in West Hollywood. It's part of an agreement with prosecutors to resolve cases in 4 states. Eyewitness News reporter Miriam Hernandez has the latest.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Darren Sharper.
His name had been associated with fame in the NFL, a 14-year all-pro career ending with a Super Bowl win with the New Orleans Saints. In retirement, it has been nothing but trouble.
Your Honor, it's a plea to counts 1 through 6 for a prison sentence of 20 years.
What is described as a global negotiated disposition was presented in court today. It resolves charges in 4 separate states. Sharper is accused of drugging women, then sexually assaulting them when they were unconscious. 2 incidents happened within months of each other at this West Hollywood bar. Sharper partied with the women, then invited them to his hotel. According to the complaint, when they entered the suite, defendant Sharper provided them with a shot of what he claimed was coffee Patron. It was laced with a sedative, Zolpidem.
You should understand, Mr. Sharper, that a plea of no contest to these felony charges is exactly the same as a plea of guilty. How do you plead? No contest.
The plea spares Sharper from the possibility of as many as 33 years in prison if he were to be tried and convicted on all charges. Instead, his sentence is 20 years. Under California sentencing laws, that term is further reduced. Sharper will get credit for time served since he was arrested. That means a sentence of under 9 years, which he will serve in a federal facility. Prosecutors say the sexual assault victims approve of the terms and explain why.
Yes, Your Honor, being spared the trauma of having to testify about their experiences.
Sharper will be required to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life.
Do the people believe that the interests of justice are served by the terms of the negotiated disposition?
Yes.
Sharper faces hearings in New Orleans and Las Vegas, where prosecutors are expected to affirm the plea agreement. Sentencing is set for July 15th back here in California. Reporting from downtown Los Angeles, Miriam Hernandez, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Bail denied for suspected killer Robert Durst, which means he'll remain behind bars in New Orleans for now. Durst, the millionaire subject of the HBO show The Jinx, is accused of killing his friend Susan Berman in her Benedict Canyon home 15 years ago. But he's being held on weapons charges in New Orleans. In denying bail, the judge deemed him a flight risk and a danger to others. Meanwhile, police in Vermont are now looking into Durst as possibly linked to a cold case there, the disappearance in 1971 of an 18-year-old woman. He's already under investigation for 3 other unsolved murders. A full report ahead at 7:30.
Right now in Venice, business owners are meeting to talk about security and specifically the homeless who gather near the stores and restaurants. This comes just 2 days after a transient bit off part of a business owner's finger. And Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter has the story.
Not too many people have seen or heard of a man getting his finger bit off by another human being.
But Clabe Hartley has. The 72-year-old owner of Cal's End Cafe in Venice had the end of his finger bitten off after being attacked by a transient.
And somebody said, "Clabe, you're bleeding." And I looked over and it was pouring, pouring. And I looked and I said, "My God, he bit off my finger."
The violent encounter happened Saturday morning. Hartley says the suspect, identified as 31-year-old Jonathan Lemons, had been harassing people for money and took a customer's cup of coffee off a table. Hartley says when he confronted the suspect, the man told him he was going to kill him and attacked.
Tried to keep him at bay, and we started struggling there inside the doorway, and we went down on the sidewalk. I never felt when he bit.
Several customers rushed to Hartley's aid, holding the suspect until police arrived. Another recovered the end of his finger, but it couldn't be reattached. The suspect now behind bars, partly recovering with more than 40 stitches in his finger. News of the brutal attack has many concerned, especially since Venice is a top tourist destination. Many business owners demanding more needs to be done to stop the increasing violence.
Especially these young travelers, as they call themselves. They are very violent, very violent, aggressive with people with their panhandling.
Hartley says he knows the LAPD is doing all it can to help with the problem, but he knows that resources are limited. That's why he and other business owners are now meeting to talk about hiring private security to help with the problem. In Marina Del Rey, Leanne Suter, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Authorities say they've detained 2 men for questioning after a brush fire broke out in Valencia. The blaze broke out just before 4 this afternoon near the Magic Mountain Parkway and Avignon Drive. Flames have destroyed about 3 acres in the wash near the Santa Clara River. Crews have the fire 80% contained. The LA County fire units were at the scene and a helicopter made some water drops from the air. No evacuations have been reported. And let's get a check on weather now with meteorologist Jonathan Novak, because actually the conditions are better for fires than they have been the past few weeks.
Yeah, we actually have some windy conditions, but they are going to be subsiding over the next 24 hours. In the meantime, still there's some lingering moisture through the mountain areas of Los Angeles National Forest. Our time lapse from a little earlier. Beautiful shot there, some of those clouds up over the peaks. And yeah, there is that wind advisory. It goes till about noon tomorrow, and that's through the mountains, the passes here of LA and Ventura counties. And so expect some maybe 35, 40-mile-an-hour winds through about midday tomorrow. Highs in the meantime, a little above average. Today we were in the mid-60s to even mid-70s in Northridge. Let's take a look at the current temperatures. I want to tell you, once the winds are gone tomorrow, we start looking ahead to some warm stuff. Right now, I can get you out the door if you're going to be heading out here in the evening time to the 60s, mid-60s right now in LA, 65, 68 Burbank, 69 Van Nuys, still 78 in Palm Springs for you guys. I have some summer-like heat in the 7-day forecast. We're going to look at that coming up in a few minutes.
Oh, that's not good.
I know.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. See you then. We now know the name of a woman killed in a cliff collapse in Marin County over the weekend. 2 hikers were standing on the Arch Rock overlook at Point Reyes National Seashore, northwest of San Francisco. The bluff suddenly gave way, and 58-year-old Nancy Blum fell to her death. The other hiker was critically injured after falling about 70 feet. On Wednesday, the National Park Service issued warnings to hikers not to walk out to the bluff because of cracks at the tip of the overlook. And a 9-year-old boy is recovering after falling 30 feet from a skylight at a school in Northern California. The boy's mother says he has 7 fractures in his back. The fall happened Sunday morning at Hamilton Elementary School. Officials say the boy and 2 other kids were on the roof, possibly retrieving a ball. School administrators say this is a good opportunity to talk to children about safety and making good choices.
A group claiming to be members of ISIS has a new hit list, and it's targeting the U.S. military. The group, calling itself the Islamic State Hacking Division, posted the list online. It contains names, photos, and apparent home addresses of more than 100 U.S. military members. The Pentagon is still trying to notify everyone on the hit list. Meantime, officials are warning members of the military to be careful about what they post on social media. The terror group claims this is in retaliation for attacking ISIS targets in Syria and Iraq.
Big political news here. The 2016 race for the White House is on, with the first major Republican declaring his candidacy. Texas Senator Ted Cruz made the announcement at Liberty University in Virginia. Cruz, the son of a Cuban immigrant, is one of several Republican hopefuls to rise from the Tea Party movement. He's perhaps most well known for leading the fight against the president's health care law when he spoke on the Senate floor for over 21 straight hours. Today, he spoke about his vision for the future.
I believe in the power of millions of courageous conservatives rising up to reignite the promise of America. And that is why today I am announcing that I'm running for President of the United States.
Cruz is expected to have some company in the race soon from Republicans, including former Florida Governor Jeb Bush and Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is apologizing to Israel's Arab citizens for comments he made during last week's election. He drew accusations of racism in Israel, especially from its Arab minority, when he warned that Arab citizens were voting in droves. He also made comments rejecting Palestinian statehood, which angered the U.S. The White House saying Netanyahu's prediction that a Palestinian state wouldn't come about on his watch was troubling. Officials called into question Netanyahu's broader commitment to the two-state solution the U.S. and Israel have officially supported for years.
A Los Angeles man says he is stranded south of the border and unable to get back home. He says he was deported after someone apparently stole his identity, and now U.S. authorities can't verify his citizenship. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda has more on the man's serious dilemma.
Ida Montoya says her brother's California birth certificate shows he was born in Los Angeles. She says now Carlos Montoya is in the middle, not of one country or the other. Back on March 1st, the family claims Montoya was at the San Isidro border crossing returning from Mexico. He doesn't have a passport. He shows his California ID, his social security card, and his birth certificate. They say when agents check his fingerprints, someone else's picture pops up on the computer screen.
And they turn the screen and they show him. And then Carlos says, "That's an imposter. Yo soy Carlos Montoya." And they say, "No, you're the imposter."
The family believes Montoya is the victim of identity theft, and somehow the other person's photo showed up with Montoya's name. Carrillo says border officials arrested Montoya and pressured him to sign a false document.
An agent tells him, "Look, if you invent a false name and you agree with what we tell you, you can go free." So under those kinds of pressure, being locked up for 3 days, facing 10 years, because they threatened him with 10 years, then he signs and agrees to whatever they were telling him.
On the phone today, Montoya said he often travels back and forth to Mexico with these documents and never had a problem before.
And now that somebody out there has his identity, he's paying for the other person's actions. That's why I've written a letter to the Inspector General to investigate possible criminal conduct. To me, it's criminal conduct.
Border Patrol officials wouldn't comment about this specific case, but say U.S. citizens are allowed to enter the country with a valid driver's license. For now, Montoya remains in Mexico. He says authorities at the U.S. consulate have told him they're investigating and trying to get him a passport, but he says they told him that could take 2 to 3 months. Reporting from South Pasadena, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
After more than 2 decades on death row, tonight an Arizona woman is free.
Up next, what led a judge to dismiss her murder conviction, plus this story.
In all fairness, you cannot, as a human, feel guilty for living, for surviving.
George Zimmerman says he feels no guilt for the shooting death of Trayvon Martin. Why he's speaking out.
Dozens of old cars and trucks, part of a late plumber's estate, but he left no will, and now what's happening with these vintage vehicles?
In a newly released video, George Zimmerman says he doesn't feel guilty for shooting and killing unarmed 17-year-old Trayvon Martin 3 years ago. He's also blaming President Barack Obama for stirring up racial tension. Eyewitness News reporter Melissa McBride has the details.
Do you have a clean conscience at this point?
Yes, sir.
Speaking only to his attorney in this just-released video, George Zimmerman says the justice system failed by bringing him to trial. Zimmerman maintains he acted in self-defense and should not have been charged for the shooting death of Trayvon Martin, an unarmed black teenager.
But I do believe that the jury process succeeded, and ultimately justice was served and I was acquitted, and I am a free man.
The former Neighborhood Watch volunteer says he's done a lot of soul-searching about the outcome of the deadly confrontation 3 years ago in Florida.
Only in a true life or death scenario can you have mental clearness to know that you cannot feel guilty for surviving.
The case garnered national attention and spurred discussions of race relations and self-defense laws. Zimmerman, whose mother is Peruvian, believes the Hispanic Congressional Caucus should have supported him. Instead, he says they sided with the Black Congressional Caucus. But Zimmerman believes the one person who acted unfairly and inflamed racial tension was President Obama.
President Obama held his Rose Garden speech stating if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. To me, that was clearly their election of duty, pitting Americans against each other solely based on race.
Zimmerman says his life today is very different from the life he lived just over 3 years ago. He says he has to keep his guard up and looks over his shoulder several times a day. Reporting in the newsroom, I'm Melissa McBride, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Today, a judge dismissed the murder case of an Arizona woman who spent more than 20 years on death row. Deborah Milke was convicted of murder in 1990, the death of her 4-year-old son. Prosecutors said that she had dressed her child up and told him that she was going to see Santa Claus. He was then taken to the desert where 2 men shot him. Milke was maintained or has maintained her innocence, and after prosecutors lost an appeal, a judge dismissed the case.
She was innocent. It was all based upon a police officer that just totally lied. And to see her free today and totally free and exonerated, it's an unbelievable feeling.
An appeals court overturned Milke's conviction in 2013, ruling that prosecutors failed to disclose the detective's history of misconduct.
It doesn't really look like spring has sprung in the Midwest. Residents there are cleaning up from a winter storm. Enough flakes fell in Wisconsin that people busted out their snow blowers and shovels. Schools in several states were closed today due to the winter conditions. The blowing and drifting snow is making things messy on Minneapolis roads. Things aren't much better in Illinois, where one car slid off the road into a ditch. Hundreds of flights have also been canceled or delayed.
Same old story there and the same old story here.
Yeah, not much of a spring.
Right. Heat, dry. Here's Jonathan Novak.
I wish it was like a scale weather. You know, it's like balanced out at some point. Doesn't happen like that, you know, where we get some of their rain and snow, and then we get some of our really warm weather, which we've got in store for this week, folks. But for now, let's take a look at that time-lapse Angeles National Forest. Beautiful shot there. Some thin clouds as we take a look at the live picture now there. 73, this is a downtown almanac right here. 73 was our high today. Normally we're at 71. Pretty seasonable there. 58 was our low, above average there for the low. And as you look out over Laguna Beach, let's see what's happening currently. 62 degrees, a nice mild evening ahead. Look at the breeze kicking in though. 15 to 17 at the moment, and other numbers around Southern California pretty much falling in place of right about that point. 65 Ontario, 66 Santa Ana. You do have the 78-degree mark there in Palm Springs, 73 Santa Clarita, and 64 in Oxnard. So a nice evening ahead, a little breezy in some spots as that wind advisory still in place through tomorrow about noon. So expect some gusts, maybe 35 potentially, in some of the real windy spots up to 50. But generally speaking, about a 35, 40-mile-an-hour wind gust is possible throughout tonight and tomorrow, the first half of the day. Then, once the winds are out of the picture, we start looking ahead to high pressure. I want you to look at the satellite and radar image here, and you see these isobars here, these lines, they're showing where the pressure gradients are in the atmosphere, and this is basically what we call zonal flow, not much in terms of any real amplification. When you see those big arcs of high pressure and the big dips of the troughs of low pressure, that's what we call meridional. So this is a zonal flow, but it's going to change, and I'm going to show you that right here as we look at that future scan, and we're going to see a high pressure ridge build in again over Southern California, and this is going to mean, again, another, call it a heat wave like we had, remember, in the 90s recently, once again later this week. For tomorrow, not bad. Temperatures above average. We're starting that warm-up, but look what happens on Wednesday. Remember those lines going from west to east? Now we have that big arc on Wednesday. That's a ridge of high pressure, and you get those winds coming out of a ridge of high pressure. At high pressure, the winds go clockwise, so they come out of the northeast. We're going to see that Santa Ana wind kick in big time, especially on Thursday and Friday. We'll have windy conditions. We'll have very warm air, 90s in the forecast for Thursday and Friday, unfortunately. So it's spring. When it's winter, it feels like spring, and when it's spring, it feels like summer. So I'm wondering what happens when summer hits, Rita. Summer squared, something like that. All right. High tomorrow in the upper 70s to near 80, and that 7-day forecast shows 80s on Wednesday, but look at Thursday and Friday, a hot one for LA Metro and Orange County. 90 to 91 on Thursday and Friday. The weekend still warm. We'll have a little bit of a cool down on Sunday and Monday. No real cloud cover, no rain. Windy, valleys, i.e. you've got some gusty conditions here again on Thursday and Friday, up to 40 miles an hour. Temperatures in the lower to mid 90s. The beach, temperatures into the 80s by Thursday, Friday. Beach heat. That's the phrase there for the end of the work week. And then the mountains got some winds kicking in too with those Santa Anas. Temperatures will stay around 60 to 65. And the high desert, you'll top out around 85 this week. You got winds around 2 for the next 4 days. Summer again.
All right.
But
so soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
Well, it looks like a car show at the Orange County DA's office. A Buena Park man who recently passed away has left behind a unique collection of vintage cars. Many date back to the 1920s and could be up for auction soon. Eyewitness News Orange County reporter Greg Lee has the story.
Cruz rolled a 1920s vintage car out of a storage crate in Santa Ana. Not at a car show, but in the back parking lot of the Orange County District Attorney's office. Right now, the county's public administrator is holding 69 cars from an estate in Buena Park.
He seemed to have a fascination, and there's some really neat cars that we have never seen.
The cars belong to 76-year-old Gerald Willits, seen here in a photo from the DMV. The public administrator's office says it doesn't know a lot about Willits, except that he died last year, and he was likely a plumber, based on the writing on some of the cars. Many of the vehicles are from the 1920s or earlier. Model Ts, Model As, Mercedes, Ford, Volkswagen, and dozens more. Investigators say most of the cars don't run and are in pretty bad shape.
They were definitely out in the elements. You know, a lot of critters made their homes inside a lot of these cars.
The office took over the cars and estate because Willett's family can't find an original will. All the cars will be auctioned off, and the money will be saved until a court can identify a rightful heir.
We're getting a tremendous amount of interest from the public, and I think this auction will be very successful.
The public administrator plans to bring an appraiser out to look at the cars and hopes to hold an auction in mid-May. Reporting in Santa Ana, Greg Lee, ABC7, Eyewitness News.
Our next, some aggressive nuns now in trouble with the Vatican, and we'll show you why.
Plus, local actors have 99 problems, why they were protesting today, and this story.
A perfect stranger turns into one man's guardian angel after he collapses. I'm Lucy Suarez in Corona. Coming up, we'll have their happy reunion.
The process to nullify a Riverside County ordinance prohibiting where convicted sex offenders can live is expected to begin tomorrow. The county law was adopted in 2010 and barred sex offenders from living near schools or parks. However, the state Supreme Court recently found residency restrictions to be unreasonable and oppressive. The county board will conduct its first hearing on repealing the restrictions tomorrow.
Actors picket their union over a proposal to end the 99-seat theater plan in Los Angeles. The proposal by the Actors Equity Association would require actors in those small theaters to be paid minimum wage. The protesters say that would kill many small theater productions that operate on a shoestring budget and provide valuable artistic outlets. The union maintains that actors should be compensated fairly for their work and says its proposal is supported by hundreds of actors. The Pope is showered with treats on his recent visit to Naples. He got some biscuits and sweets from a group of very aggressive nuns. They literally mobbed him at a local cathedral. The nuns were later scolded for their behavior. Also, a pizza maker hopped a security fence and hand-delivered one of his famous pies to Pope Francis. The Pope gladly accepted it.
Well, sometimes, look at that. Sometimes you got to take a chance.
Yeah.
You know? We are updating the evening's top stories next at 7:30.
Including after 5 months of investigating that alleged gang rape at the University of Virginia, what police are now saying about what they've discovered.
Plus, why the family of the Fast and Furious star Paul Walker is suing the family of Walker's friend, who was also killed in that tragic Porsche crash.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7:30 p.m. on LA56.
Top story at 7:30. Former NFL star Darren Sharper has pleaded no contest to charges of drugging and raping 2 women in West Hollywood. I'm David Ono.
I'm Rudabeh Shabazzi in for Colleen Sullivan. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7:30 p.m. The pleas are part of an agreement with prosecutors to resolve cases against Sharper in 4 states. Earlier today, the former Super Bowl champ pleaded guilty to sexual assault in Arizona and was sentenced to 9 years in prison.
Firefighters making quick work of a brush fire that broke out in Valencia this afternoon. It was burning near Magic Mountain Parkway, quickly spreading to about 3 acres before fire crews were able to fully contain it. The flames sparked in the wash near the Santa Clara River. LA County fire units are on the scene and helicopters aiding them from the air. Firefighters put residents of a nearby apartment complex on alert in case evacuations became necessary.
Another big story at 7:30. Robert Durst is facing a murder charge here in Los Angeles, but for now he remains in jail in New Orleans. Meanwhile, there are new suspicions about the accused killer.
Eccentric millionaire Robert Durst will be held without bond on weapons charges in New Orleans.
We were able to get a lot of information that hadn't been available to us. I didn't have any hope at all that the judge was going to set a bail bond, so we're not surprised by that at all. And we will get a preliminary hearing on April the 2nd. All in all, I think this has been a very good day for us.
The 71-year-old was deemed a flight risk and a danger to others. He's been in a prison mental health unit for nearly a week on suicide watch. Durst is accused of killing his friend Susan Berman in her Benedict Canyon home 15 years ago and is now being investigated in at least 4 states for unsolved murders.
I know that we are doing a number of things in different field offices to run down leads.
Durst's attorneys say his arrest was illegal, orchestrated to come one day before the finale of an HBO documentary series about his links to Berman's murder, the disappearance of his wife, and the killing of his elderly neighbor in Texas. During the finale of The Jinx, Durst is heard muttering what some are calling an admission to the murders.
Kill them all, of course.
Durst's attorney questions the validity of the warrant in the Berman case and the search of his New Orleans hotel room, also saying he was interviewed by prosecutors without legal representation and saying the HBO clip doesn't implicate his client.
His mutterings, his musings, his ramblings don't mean anything.
Durst waived extradition, but is still being held in Louisiana on those weapons charges. It's unclear when he'll come back to L.A. to face the murder charge. If convicted of killing Susan Berman, he could face the death penalty.
Prosecutors are likely to wind up their case this week at the trial of surviving Boston bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Today, a note was introduced that he scrawled inside a boat where he was hiding after the attacks. Prosecutors say it had a message of global jihad, showing that the bombings were retaliation for U.S. wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The defense is seeking to portray Tsarnaev's brother as the mastermind, hoping to spare him from the death penalty.
3 of Bill Cosby's accusers are fighting the comedian's efforts to have a defamation lawsuit filed against him dismissed. Tamara Green originally filed the defamation lawsuit in December of last year. Therese Serenice and Linda Traits later joined the suit. They claim Cosby defamed them by publicly branding them as liars through statements by his representatives after they alleged he had sexually assaulted them decades ago. Cosby has denied the allegations and has not been charged with any crime.
Police have suspended a 5-month-long investigation into an alleged gang rape inside a fraternity house at the University of Virginia, citing a lack of evidence. The investigation was launched after a graphically detailed account of the alleged incident was published in Rolling Stone magazine. ABC's Karen Travers has more on what police found.
A 5-month police investigation led to this conclusion.
There is no substantive basis to conclude what is described in that article happened that night.
The University of Virginia asked the Charlottesville Police Department to look into allegations of a 2012 gang rape at its Phi Kappa Psi fraternity house. The incident was described in graphic detail in a bombshell article in the November 2014 issue of Rolling Stone magazine. The alleged victim, a woman identified only as Jackie. She remembers every moment of the next 3 hours of agony, during which she says 7 men took turns raping her, she told the magazine. Other news organizations quickly found discrepancies in the Rolling Stone article. The magazine would later apologize and launch an internal investigation. Charlottesville police said that Jackie declined to talk to them after the article was published.
That doesn't mean that something terrible did not happen to Jackie.
It's been an extraordinarily turbulent year at UVA.
In the last 7 months, their university and our community has been on a national stage 3 times.
The Rolling Stone article, the shocking murder of freshman Hannah Graham last fall, and just last week, this racially charged incident where an African-American junior appears to have been assaulted by law enforcement officers after he was rejected from an off-campus bar.
Charlottesville police say Jackie's case is not closed. It's suspended until they gather more information or someone else comes forward. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
The family of actor Paul Walker is taking legal action against the estate of the man behind the wheel when they were killed in a fiery 2013 car wreck. The lawsuit filed in LA Superior Court Friday alleges Roger Rodas was in possession of numerous cars owned by Walker and that his estate has failed to return them despite verbal and written demands. It also claims that vehicles owned by Walker were sold prior to and following his death, and Walker's shares were never delivered to his estate. Meantime, a touching tribute from Vin Diesel to remember the late co-star and close friend Paul Walker. Diesel named his newborn daughter Pauline, his third child with girlfriend Paloma Jimenez. And you can see Walker and Diesel star in their latest film together, Furious 7, in theaters April 3rd.
An emotional reunion today between a heart attack survivor and the Good Samaritan who saved his life. Inland Empire reporter Leticia Juarez was there as the survivor got a chance to say thank you.
Alan Sidians wouldn't be standing here today if it had not been for this woman, Pilar Mitchell.
Hi. How are you? Not better circumstances.
The two strangers meeting each other for a second time. Only Sidians doesn't remember their first encounter a year ago this month.
Just don't remember a thing until about 4 days later.
Sidians was out for his regular run here along Foothill Parkway in Corona when he collapsed in full cardiac arrest. Mitchell happened to be at a stoplight when she heard screams for help.
There was a girl in the corner screaming if anyone knew CPR.
Mitchell, a dental hygienist, had taken a CPR class a year prior in dental school.
The voices were going through my head like I took a class, but I've never done this before. And long story short, I just couldn't pass it by, so I got out of my car and rushed over to him and did what I was remembering in class to do.
She did chest compressions until paramedics with the Corona Fire Department arrived and took over. They credit the mother of two with helping to keep Sidians alive. Now the fire department is training others with a newly launched free community CPR training program.
A little bit of training can go a long way.
The Corona Fire Department is offering its next CPR class in May, and they're hoping that Alan's story will inspire more people to learn. Reporting in Corona, Leticia Juarez, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Health news is next, including the vitamin that may help slow down prostate cancer. Plus, a warning about e-cigarettes.
And caught on camera, a shark sig alert where hundreds of the predators are on the move tonight.
Jonathan Novak here. Beautiful day. Temperatures pretty seasonable, but they're going way up. Summer-like weather back in the forecast. Details ahead.
It's a shark frenzy in Louisiana. Incredible aerial video shows hundreds of sharks heading north after migrating south for the winter. Experts say the sharks are following the fish they eat into warmer waters. This video from last week was shot from an oil platform about 30 miles off the coast of Grand Isle.
Pretty incredible. Well, parents and teachers in Malibu are taking action over concerns about toxins at Malibu High School and Juan Cabrillo Elementary. They've filed a lawsuit demanding all caulk containing elevated levels of PCB in those buildings to be removed. The lawsuit alleges the district is violating the Toxic Substances Control Act by not removing the concerning materials. According to the district, it's in full compliance with the act, and officials are talking to the experts to determine what the next step should be.
Can vitamin D stop prostate cancer from progressing? A new study reveals a very encouraging finding. Researchers studied 37 men with prostate cancer. One group took 4,000 units of vitamin D a day. The others received placebos. Those taking vitamin D showed improvement in their tumors. They either stopped or slowed down. Not so in the placebo group. According to researchers, the vitamin D also significantly reduced inflammation, a cancer marker.
California has taken new steps to clear the air about the dangers of e-cigarettes. E-cigs are seen by many as a healthier alternative to smoking, but the State Department of Health declares them a public health risk. And Eyewitness News Orange County Bureau Chief Eileen Frere has a look at the agency's new campaign.
Camille Winans credits e-cigarettes for helping her to stop smoking tobacco more than a year ago.
It's the only way that I've gotten off cigarettes. I've tried gum, I've tried patches.
Winans works for Local Vape in Costa Mesa. She says she feels healthier vaping.
The real concern is the long-term impact, and we just won't know that for years.
The state health department is also so concerned it's releasing 2 television ads calling the devices toxic and highlighting big tobacco companies are in the e-cigarette business. One ad suggests the candy-flavored e-juice is being marketed to attract kids.
We've seen an increase in the youth using these things. 33% of our 11th graders reported that they had tried them at some time in the past. They're getting them online, they're getting them in stores, they're getting them in kiosks in the mall.
Local Vape says it checks ID to ensure they sell only to adults. Winans, a mother of 3, also says it's up to parents to know what their kids are doing.
Parents just need to be responsible. You can't leave your bottles out, you can't do that kind of thing.
Health officials say e-cigarettes contain fewer carcinogens than tobacco, but more research still needs to be done.
They're much lower levels than in regular cigarettes, but who knows what a safe level of a carcinogen is.
Health department officials say the anti-e-cigarette campaign will also include outdoor ads, including billboards at gas stations, even in movie theaters. The ad campaign is expected to run through June. In Orange County, Eileen Frere, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
We'll get ready for a big warm-up. Jonathan Novak has his complete forecast up next.
Plus in sports, New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft talks about the NFL returning to Los Angeles.
And you may need to adjust the cuteness level on your TV. Today is National Puppy Day, when everyone falls in puppy love, and you will too, coming up.
All right, let's talk about our weather because, quite frankly, we haven't had a lot of good news lately. And I know today's going to be different, Jonathan.
Okay. Is this, if you like, do you like time lapses? Hey, I got good news. We got a time lapse on the screen. Running Springs time lapse there. Yeah, I followed through right there. All right. Highs today were generally about average, so that's good news, but it's not going to last. That's sort of the bad news if you're looking for more of this. We had temps in the lower 70s in Irvine, topped out at 66 Lake Arrowhead. When we get to the extended forecast, that's all out of the picture. We've got more summer-like weather ahead. LAX, temperatures in the lower 60s, a little bit of a breeze out there. We've got winds kicking up today, and they'll be out mainly for the mountains and the passes through about noon tomorrow. And then, again, we start turning attention to heat. Tonight's very nice, 68 in Burbank, 65 Ontario, Palm Springs, 78, Big Bear, 46, nice and mild right now, and 66 over at the coast, Long Beach, San Clemente. Right now is coming in at 64, that's your current temperature. So a nice one tonight. Winds are a little gusty. We have that wind advisory that's in place. The Antelope Valley goes till tonight, but if you head over to the mountains of LA and Ventura County, it expires, that wind advisory, tomorrow at noon. What does that mean? Gusts potentially up to 50 through some of the passes there, but generally about 35, 40 for the gusts. And then the winds will subside for some spots, but they'll pick up for a lot of us, actually, as high pressure will build in and we get Santa Ana winds in place for Thursday, Friday. So we get a little bit of a break in between there for the winds. But let me show you what's happening on the big picture. Not much, actually. See this west to east flow? No big areas of high pressure, no troughs of low pressure, unfortunately, because that would mean rain. But that's going to change, and it's not going to be low pressure that moves in, which would bring rain. It's going to be Tuesday into Wednesday, high pressure that builds in. So as high pressure, you see that right here. This is that ridge of high pressure that's going to be making its, I would say move, but it's going to be taking hold of our weather pattern as we go through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Those winds around high pressure, of course, go offshore. It's going to be a gusty Santa Ana wind, and it's going to be temperatures that we see into the 90s again later this week. For tomorrow, not bad. Upper 70s, yeah, that is warm. It's above average by about 8 degrees, 9 degrees, about 80 in San Bernardino, 77 Anaheim. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday that we see the real warm-up in store in your 7-day forecast. LA Metro and Orange counties on the board right now. We see the winds kicking up, especially Thursday, Friday, 90, 91. The weekend has a little bit of a cool down, but we're above average the whole stretch. Valleys, i.e., you've got temperatures. It looks like the weather will heat up 92 to 93 on Thursday and Friday, and the winds will be kicking up 40 miles an hour. Until then, warm. Thursday, Friday's hot. Beaches look warm on Thursday and Friday as well. Everybody's going to be seeing those temperatures go up. The mountains, not too much. When we see those Santa Anas, the mountains aren't terribly warm, but it will be gusty toward the end of the work week. For tomorrow, 58. Wednesday's 55, 60 to 63 Thursday and Friday. And that high desert, you get a couple of days in the 70s. The winds will be kicking up for the next 4 days for you guys. A lot of sun, no rain, just hot stuff, guys. We're back into that summer-like pattern for the next 7 days.
All right, Jonathan. Not the deal that we had hoped for. But okay.
I started with the good news, and then,
yeah. All right.
What can you do?
Time lapse?
Need more than that. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow. The NFL hasn't had a team in Los Angeles in 20 years, and this might be the last year the second largest media market won't have the Shield in town. Yesterday, New York Giants owner John Mara said he expects a team in Los Angeles by 2016. Today in Phoenix, the NFL owners' meetings kicked off, and the assembled owners were given an update on what's happening in Los Angeles, St. Louis, San Diego, and Oakland. The general consensus around these owners' meetings is that the league will be back in Los Angeles one way or another as soon as 2016, and some owners think it might be 2 teams coming to L.A.
And I really believe within the next year we'll have 2 teams in this market, and I think they're good plans, but that's, you know, we have a little committee that are working with the different owners, and we have some real good options, and now we'll see what happens in the end game.
Mo'ne Davis burst into the spotlight after becoming the first girl to throw a shutout and win a game in the Little League World Series. She handled the instant stardom like a professional, but how she handled a controversial tweet is more impressive. Over the weekend, Bloomberg University kicked Joey Castleberry off their baseball team after posting an offensive tweet about Davis. Davis emailed the school to give Castleberry a second chance and reinstate him to the team. She told ESPN the reason why.
Everyone makes mistakes, and everyone deserves a second chance. And I mean, it's not, I know he didn't mean it in that type of way, and I know a lot of people get tired of me, like, just seeing me on TV, but sometimes you just gotta like, just think about what you're doing before you actually do it. And I know he didn't. I know right now he's really hurt, and I know how hard he worked just to get to where he is right now.
The university released a statement saying her request demonstrates the type of person she is, but the school added it stands firm on their decision.
Today is National Puppy Day, and we're having not one but 2 days of celebrations. Today we're sharing your puppy pictures. We asked you to send us pictures of your pup, and you guys really delivered here. We have received hundreds of pictures of your puppies, and you can see all our ABC7 puppies on our Morning Show Facebook page. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes shows us why National Puppy Day has plenty of legs to stand on.
They're cute, they're rascally, and they're in the spotlight. That's because today is National Puppy Day.
I love National Puppy Day.
Just how much does she love National Puppy Day?
I think every day should be National Puppy Day.
Which would be National Puppy Year, and that would be fine with the regulars here at the Griffith Dog Park. But National Puppy Day comes just once a year, and it is a good day for the people who work at animal shelters where pups like these two are always waiting to find the right human.
To me, that means good adoptions, and it means that you need to come to your shelter and look to see what's there before you shop.
But you're barking up the wrong tree if you think Puppy Day is only about puppies. The folks around here will tell you it's also raising awareness about dogs in general.
It can make people go and adopt dogs, you know, for Puppy Day, so they're going to feel like, oh, maybe I should go and get a dog, you know. So this is good for dogs.
Puppies get adopted a lot quicker than adult dogs.
Officer Stacy Wood says the Burbank Animal Shelter has 75 dogs up for adoption, but only 2 are puppies. So she's hoping people will cast a wider net when they decide to bring home a pooch.
National Puppy Day is a great day, but I think that we should attach somehow adoption to it. We don't want everybody to go out to the pet stores and buy puppies. We want them to come to the shelters and get them.
And pup owners may have another off-leash dog park to visit soon. Burbank is considering 3 spots, including here at Johnny Carson Park South. As for National Puppy Day, it still comes as a surprise to most folks, but there's still plenty of time to keep Fido from feeling left out.
I'm going to take him over to one of those puppy stores and get him a treat.
A last-ditch Puppy Day effort to stay out of the doghouse. In Burbank, Rob Hayes, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
They are so cute to look at. All the pictures we got.
Did you tweet your dog yet?
I did.
You did?
I tweet my dog all the time.
All right. Well, I have 3. When I get home, I'll take some photos.
And she's still a puppy, too.
Oh,
shelter puppy.
Yours are cute. Mine are old, but they're so cute.
Yeah, I'm sure they're cute. We got to meet them soon. Well, there's more news straight ahead here at 7:30.
Ahead tonight at Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7. Have you seen this man? The brazen crime caught on crystal clear video.
And why actress Therese Henson says she won't send her son to USC.
These stories and all the late breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7.
A basketball game to celebrate the 2015 Special Olympics World Games coming to Southern California. The teams were led out by WWE superstar Big Show for the game at Mendez High School. It was hosted by WWE Special Olympics Southern California and the LA Unified School District. Students from Mendez High School and West Adams Prep played in the game. The Big Show and WWE divas Layla and Naomi served as coaches.
See you later.